So it's no secret that I really love Airship Escort. It's just more close range action, brawling gameplay, and a lot of battleships really benefit from that. Even some of the sniping ones like Yamato's, for example. Closer range equals more hits, but for a ship like the Kurfurst that struggles a little bit in random battles, it feels really nice. And on this map in particular, everyone seems to ignore this flank, and I understand why. There's really no point in going here when it comes to the airship's path, but it's excellent for flanking. So we're going to go for a little walk here in our Kurfurst and see if we can actually win this game by flanking the enemy team and doing a crap ton of damage. To start off with, we don't do that much to this Marseille, but hey, he's forced back, he's angled, and now we can take a look at the whole enemy team. It's probably just going to clump up on the 6, 7, 8 line. Our team's going to do this as well. If you've played this map on Airship Escort, you know everyone clumps up on those few squares and a little bit in the channel on, what, the 4 or 5 lines, I suppose. So a Kurfurst flat broadside, and we're going to do around 40,000 damage. Yep. Not quite, but just about 40,000 damage. So if you've been watching my videos, you'll know I'm constantly locking, unlocking, locking on again to the targets I'm shooting at, and it's working wonders for dispersion. That's why we got, part of the reason why we got such a good salvo, I think. Of course, Kurfurst isn't always going to do that many full pens. We got lucky, certainly. But it's very nice to see that every once in a while. Now the Marseille pokes back out, and he's not quite as angled as he was before. Let me tell you, hitting that massive salvo and having good dispersion, it gives you the confidence to aim for little cheek citadels like that, going through the nose of the ship and hitting the front of the citadel. It's very a small target to hit, but if we're getting good dispersion, it is doable at closer ranges, and we've managed to do it. 82k already, and we're already on the other side of the map. We're on the enemy's side of the map, and there is an enemy carrier in this game, and I won't lie, I got pretty lucky to not be focused down by him. But I do think there's an element of focusing on the people that are pushing the airship the fastest. I think that is a bit of an element to this game mode. The carrier is coming after us a little bit now, but he's misplayed. He's mispositioned his ship. And we get a nice juicy salvo in on him here. Honestly, I was hoping for a dev strike here, as I'm sure a lot of you probably are as well. And we don't quite get it. And unfortunately, there's a Shimakaze YOLOing into us, or at least seemingly coming around this corner. So we do have to push forward, get a little bit of the engines going to try and at least out-accelerate some of these torps. And I make a bit of a mistake here. I don't damage con this flood immediately. We do manage to take out the Shimakaze, but he gets one salvo of torps off at us. And the reason it's a mistake to not damage con here is that if all those torps hit, we die, right? It's Shima torps. We need to dodge them. So the flood actually makes our ship slower. It's a bit of a subtle mechanic, but you're much slower to accelerate and much slower to slow down as well. You're going to glide a lot farther than you otherwise would when you do have a flood on your ship. So we do manage to dodge. It's all fine. We got a lot of HP still. The Shimakaze is taken out at least. But had I eaten a few of those torpedoes, this game would have gone a lot differently. And it would have been much easier to avoid them if I had damage controlled the flood from the CV's torpedo right away. I would have accelerated faster, and I would have avoided them much easier. Something to consider. Sometimes it is right to instantly damage control a flood, but not always, especially since they changed floods to do much less damage. Back in the old days, they used to flood for over a minute, and it would take nearly 80% of your health for like one flood. It was kind of ridiculous. So a good change there, but just keep that in mind. Even though it's fine to let one flood leave on your ship, these days, sometimes you do need that extra acceleration or maneuverability. Broadside Kurfurst again, and this time we don't quite do as much. We don't do around 40k, but still a very nice hit. And we're getting a little bit focused here with good reason. We're right in the middle of the map here. We're going to see if we can take this Kurfurst out. I do get reasonably fortunate this game that I am in a Kurfurst and not, say, an Ohio. And that really comes down to Turtleback. There's a few situations where I'm very broadside and I don't eat a massive hit. This is a great example. Surely the Monty should have done a little more damage than that, I'll admit, but he's probably not going to kill us here because we have Turtleback. There's no citadels really going to happen there. That's what that Turtleback does to save you in close quarters circumstances. I will say also this Columbo probably should have been using armor piercing a little bit more against me. That's why whenever I'm playing my Columbo, I talk about the importance of swapping shell types. He does, what, 8,000 damage to me? And we're broadside enough that his armor piercing would have just smacked us. His sap actually doesn't have enough pen to get through our belt armor, and our upper belt armor either. Whereas against a Montana or a Yamato, it's more than enough to do good damage to the upper belt. It's these German battleships that Columbo needs to swap over to armor piercing. Round number 2 against the CV. This time, hopefully, we'll do a little bit better. And yes, we do. CV taken out, 180k. This game is definitely one for us at this point, but we get to Brawl a Monty real quick here at the end. And again, we're going to notice the improved dispersion that we're going to see. See how I'm just clicking lock on, lock on, lock on all the time? And yeah, pretty nice dispersion. A little bit high, but hey, 50,000 damage in one salvo still feels pretty good. And there's number 2, where if I had been in an Ohio or something, or Montana, for example, definitely can eat citadels at that angle. But in a Kurfurst, we don't. And then our secondaries are just going to tear them up, because Kurfurst secondaries at close range, yeah, they pen 32 millimeters of armor, so this Monty's just going to get eaten alive. We do aim up into a superstructure and actually do surprisingly good damage as well, taking out a gun even, keeping us a little bit safer even. 250,000 damage in a Kurfurst, and not quite 4 kills, but 3 kills feels pretty good. We even got the carrier in this one. Brawling it out in a GK is always a good time. Reminds me of the kind of the old days of World of Warships when the Kurfurst first came out. And this Airship Escort mode is just amazing for that. So top score only by a little bit. Teammate had a pretty good game there. Look at that, even 40,000 damage from those secondaries. So they can do some serious work. Now, I've definitely shown this build before, and even somewhat recently, but I think it's important to notice it's a hybrid build here, first of all. Aiming systems mod 1, and we are taking the legendary upgrade here, but having aiming systems can help get a little bit more accuracy. I haven't actually tried the full secondary build to see how accurate this lock-on unlocking thing is yet. Maybe I'll do that in a future video, but for now, sticking with accuracy, because it feels so good to hit that many high damaging salvos so consistently. The legendary mod, though, is really only good for a mode like Airship Escort, where you're going to be at closer ranges, since it reduces your main gun firing range by quite a bit. 8% doesn't sound like that much, but 19 kilometers, which such a big ship, is very, very painful in random battles. And of course, it doesn't actually give you better main battery reload time than main battery mod 3 anymore. So you actually have a worse main gun reload compared to main battery mod 3, and you have worse range then too. So a little bit rough to run in randoms. You definitely need to be making use of your secondaries here. That's the big benefit, is that you gain most of the main battery reload with this legendary upgrade, while also getting an insane boost to your secondary DPM. For randoms though, I would probably just stick with main battery mod 3. It'd be much more useful, I think, especially a lot easier to play with that little bit of extra range. So the captain, though, is again Luchins from my Schlieffen. This is not an optimal build for Kurfurst or Schlieffen. It's just so that I can swap between Schlieffen and Kurfurst whenever I want to, without spending Elite Commander XP or doubloons to retrain my commander all the time. I want Luchins on my Schlieffen, and it's nice to have him here on a Kurfurst, where we did happen to get up over 100 hits and do a lot of damage. The IFHE here, though, is for the Schlieffen build, and close quarters combat here is a little more for Kurfurst, maybe Schlieffen as well, but fire prevention is definitely for Kurfurst. If it was just a Schlieffen build, I'd run Emergency Repair Expert, because we would have those fast cooldown damage controls, but we only get 4 or 5 of them on Schlieffen. So we don't really have to worry about as much about fires, where on Kurfurst, yeah, you're a pretty big target, and you burn very quickly, so we want to reduce the amount of fires. But that is the build, a very, very fun match, and honestly, I just love this Airship Escort game mode. I hope they keep it in this game. It has its own mode, it's really nice, you can tailor builds to it, but at least put it into some rotation in random battles. I really, really want to see it stick around. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.